Hi, my name is Michele Losse and I'm one of the archivists here at Kew Gardens. The Archives is part of the Library and Art and Archives is the name of our department. And my role is quite a varied one, and we get a lot of inquiries and we require quite a lot of research. And we also do cataloguing, writing blogs, writing articles and dealing with the public and making documents accessible to the public as well. Well, Kew is internationally renowned for plant sort of research and preservation as well. And we've also got the gardens, but a lot of people don't always realise that the sort of behind the scenes, if you like. And the gardens are very old. They date back to the 18th century. And they're royal gardens to start, and it's not until the 1850s that they became public gardens and the science side of things really started to develop. It's by accident, really. As I said, part of my job involves doing quite a lot of research, either because I'm writing something or because we've had an inquiry from somebody internally or externally. And I was looking through this volume, which is called the Journal of Kew Guild. And Kew Guild is an association created for and by employees, and started in 1895. And there's a journal which is being published once a year. And it's really a mine of information. And I was actually researching something else. And I came across the article by chance, and he actually caught my mind because it said the Kew film, and it's quite old, it was dated 1941, so I thought that's interesting. And then I read about it, and it gave quite a lot of details, and he also said that it was commissioned by the British Council. And then I thought, wouldn't it be great to get a copy of this? So I found an email, a general email address for the British Council, and I emailed them, and I got a reply after a while for somebody who knew nothing about it. I don't think you guys were aware that you had it. And the person I spoke to, or I emailed rather, said, okay, leave it with me and I'll look into it. And it took a little bit of time, and eventually it turned out that the film had been sitting in the British Film Institute vault since the 1940s, and nobody sort of had looked at it since. And as you probably know, British Film Institute have got thousands and thousands of films. And so eventually, we said, it'd be really nice to have a copy. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it, first of all, because it was a colour film, which I think is quite unusual for the 40s. And I think the film and the article I discovered go really well together, because in the film, it's great because it shows the public side of things, as it was in the 40s, but it also shows behind the scenes and the work that went on behind the scenes. And it also shows people who are quite important, who've obviously passed away since then. For instance, it shows an illustrator who's worked with Kew a lot, called Stella Ross Craig. And we've got some information about her, but we've got very little from her time at Kew from that period. And having her on film, actually doing the job, illustrating, you know, painting, illustrating the specimen, is actually quite special. And the other thing was, there was a lot about the lady gardeners, which were brought in especially because obviously the men had gone fighting during the war. And that's a really popular subject. We have photographs and various articles about the lady gardeners at Kew, but we have no film. We do have a collection of films, which I curate, but some of them are quite old, and I don't think there's anything quite that special. And the other problem we have is a bit like the film that I discovered, is that they're quite old and they probably need restoring, and also we don't have the medium to play them on. And in the article, which is not mentioned in the film, it actually gives the name of every single person which features in the film. And in the film, I think there's just one person who's being mentioned, who's Arthur Cotton, who was the keeper of the herbarium at the time. So I think the film and the article go really well together, because the article gives a lot more information about the background of the film. I don't think it's changed an awful lot, actually. I think the film is quite good because it really showed behind the scenes, as well as the garden side of things. I mean, obviously things have been modernised and things have changed quite a bit, but I think the film really does reflect this sort of exchange between the gardens and the work that goes on behind the scenes. and the importance of the gardens, because the plant coming back from abroad being put in the gardens, and how the gardens are important for the public side, which I think it still is, because although we do get money from DEFRA, we do also rely on the money of the public coming in. So I think that's quite important to show the public side of things, but also the work that goes on behind the scenes. And I quite like in the film that they were showing people working on specimen and explaining in very plain language what people were doing, as well as the illustrators and the work of curating the specimen in the herbarium as well. So all these activities that went on in the 40s still goes on. Obviously, Cures as an institution has changed an awful lot, has moved forward with time, has modernised. But I think the film really does show very well the work that goes on behind the scenes as well as the public side. I have a contact at the British Film Institute, who's Jan Fole, and she advised me about a course of action, and she said if you want a copy, she said I had a look at it, and it's quite in bad condition, you'd have to pay to have it restored. So she gave me a quote which is about £300, we thought was quite reasonable. And we then proceeded to pay to have the film restored, and it stemmed from there. What I have done, I have written an article for our intranet to publicise the film, and we've had members of staff who've been very interested, who've come in and seen the film. And then what we plan to do eventually is to put it on our website so we can have wider public access. And I know that they're also interested in the gardens to show it as part of one of the festivals. So we do have plans to publicise it more widely, because we've virtually got no films on the gardens from that period. And I think it probably, in fact, it probably is the only one. And I think it's historically, it's very important.